and welcome to another tutorial. In this video, I'll show you how to make dubstep in the style of Skream, inspired by his tracks The Shinein, Backwards, Phatty Drummer and Gritty. The project file, samples and serum presets are available for a small contribution in the description, and please do like and subscribe if you find my videos useful. Also, please excuse my voice, I've got a bit of a cold at the moment. Our BPM is 140. Hands are in the key of F sharp minor, although harmonic minor and Phrygian dominant scales also work well for this style. Let's get into it. This kick is inspired by Backwards. We have a bright transient which gives way to a subby tail. Then we have the rest of the drums. Our first drum element is a clap. There's the main clap, and we have a Foley hit on every second clap. The Foley hit is inspired by the Shinein. You could also use a trashy dubstep snare like in Backwards. On the group, there's drum bus, and I've used an audio effect track with clean and reverbed channels. I prefer to use this method when adding reverb to snares or claps, since using the mix knob affects the percs level. Finally, we have an EQ. Next, we have the tabla, and we have two samples in a drum rack. I prefer using loops for these types of perks since they create more of a live feel, but one-shots are fine too. Let's take a look at these high perks. When programming dubstep drums, I like to have a steady pulse, exemplified by Hat 1 and Shaker 1, alongside more syncopated rhythms like the tambourine. This two-step groove is applied to everything in the drums group, although I've left the timing at 20% since I wanted relatively little swing. On the drums group, there's saturator, parallel compression, EQ, and reverb via A. For this project, I've used the Empty Club preset. Next, we have the bass. The melodic leaps are inspired by Shinein, but you could have a one-note bass line like in Phatty Drummer, or use sub-drops like in Backwards. I could have chosen a lower sinoid sub-type bass like in the last two tracks I mentioned, but I've gone for something harmonically richer. The sub-oscillator and A are both sine waves taken down by 2 octaves, and A is being modulated by B, which is a saw wave taken down by 2 octaves, and its level has of course been taken down. The FM amount is being modulated slightly by LFO1. Oscillator A is running into this bandpass filter, which has its cutoff modulated by LFOs 1 and 2. Key tracking is also enabled. There's distortion in the effects. On the channel, there's parallel glue, EQ, and a rack sidechaining the lows using the kick as a trigger. Reverb is applied via A. Next, we have the effects. Skream seems to like a mixture of synthesized and Foley samples for his effects. I've used a door creak here, but you could try mechanical or digital noises as Skream does in Phatty Drummer. These all have effects like echo, and in the case of the tick, reverb. The Cricket Ambience has an auto pan modulating volume as well. This bass effects is made in Serum. This patch has the same settings for the sub and oscillator A as the bass we looked at. And again, we're using FM synthesis. B is this Reese Mess 3 with its wavetable position modulated by LFO2, as is the filter's cutoff. There are several effects, but I draw your attention to the EQ, which I'm using to remove bass and mids since this patch is an effect and not a bass. A second filter with its cutoff modulated by LFO2. And reverb. On the channel, there's bass mono up to 500 Hz and echo. On the effects group, there's drum bus, parallel glue, EQ, and chorus. Plus reverb via A. Finally, we have the melodic group. Starting with the bell lead. This is based on a preset called Basic Brushed Bells, and it's inspired by the lead in Backwards. FM synthesis is a great way of making bell sounds, and this patch is made in Operator using sine, triangle, and square waves. I've used Saturator, OTT, isotope vinyl, using the warp function to modulate pitch, EQ, and echo. Then we have this whale sound, which is a sample with echo applied. Next, we have the pad. This is another bellish type sound, and this was inspired by Gritty. We have a detuned sine wave with FM from B modulated by LFO2. B is also a sine wave. I've used this Atmos 5 noise, and this texture helps the patch feel more organic. Oscillator A is running into this low pass filter. In the effects, there's hyperdimension, distortion, and delay. And on the channel, there's more isotope vinyl and EQ. Finally, we have the dub chord. Shouts to some of my Discord members for helping me get closer to this sound. You can join the Discord in the description. This is similar to the last patch, but this time there's no FM, and both oscillators are detuned, with B taken down an octave. Of course, the level's taken up because this isn't an FM patch. LFO1 is modulating the noise level, filter cutoff, and the distortions mix knob. On the channel, there's a transient shaper. This is the kilohertz transient shaper, and it's better than some paid options. I'll link it below. Isotope vinyl. overdrive, amp, saturator, EQ, and echo. I noticed the inspiration sound from Phatty Drummer uses a quarter note echo, so I'm using one here. On the group, there's parallel glue, EQ, chorus, and Serum Effects reverb. I've gone maximalist with my melodic arrangement, but screams are usually more minimal. And that's the video. Please leave any questions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.